The views and opinions expressed on the following program may not necessarily reflect the views of the staff, management, or board of Hope Media Group and KSBJ. It's what's happening around us, in our town, suburb, city, in our community. It's Community Beat with Kim Kasi McKee on 89.3 KSBJ.
Hello and welcome to Community Beat, where we're keeping you tuned in to the topics that are impacting our local communities and helping them thrive. I'm your host, Kim Kasi McKee, and today we're raising awareness for a ministry in our city that shows and shares the love of God to expectant mothers and their families who are sometimes experiencing some extreme hardships. Our guest today has been on the front lines to help save souls as well as the unborn for quite some time. Nanda Kirkpatrick is the executive director of CareNet Pregnancy Center of Houston. Welcome, Nanda, and thanks so much for joining us today.
Oh, thanks so much for having me.
So, Nanda, for starters, how did you get here? From an academic background with a bachelor's and master's degree from Rice University in biochemistry and cell biology, and a doctorate in science and math education from University of Houston, to now over 20 years of ministry to families in crisis.
Oh, gosh. Okay, so we'll truncate that whole story. But when I went to college, I thought I would become a professor at a university. I was actually a professing atheist at the time.
Wow.
And which fit right in with most academic departments of biochemistry and cell biology. And then I joined the Peace Corps after I got my bachelor's degree. I served in what was then Zaire, now it's DR Congo. And that is where I met the Lord.
Wow.
And so the Lord had a sense of humor and put me in a village, a remote village, no running water, no electricity for 2 years, and put me in a village that had been so evangelized by the missionaries that they had moved on. Wow. And so I was surrounded for 2 years with people who had absolute joy in their life despite really dire circumstances. And I was very impacted by that. Then I came back, went back to school and was working at Rice University. I'd been there when I came to the pregnancy center. I'd been there for about a decade. I thought that the only way I would leave Rice University was in a pine box. But God had other plans for that.
Wow. So did someone connect you to a pregnancy center? How did you get into that area of ministry?
I guess I'd been at Rice about 8 years, and somehow, God just starts putting thoughts in your mind and puts people in your path, and all of a sudden I kept hearing about pregnancy centers. And so we had just moved back out to Cyprus. I grew up in Cyprus and then went away, came back, and I went to a banquet for CareNet, and then when I heard about them and I signed up and said, I might be interested in volunteering. And they would call me every few months. And I was like, too busy. And then in July of 2003, our former senior pastor, Dave Gibson at Cypress Bible Church, he preached one of those sermons that just kind of hits you between the eyes. And I said, okay, God, you're speaking to me. I made a vow that I would call the center the next day, find out when the next volunteer training was, and I vowed that I would clear my schedule, and I did, and the rest is really history. I went through volunteer training expecting to be a volunteer, but within 4 months, I had resigned my position at Rice University, and I went on staff as their director of education in January of 2004, so 2 decades this January.
What an incredible story and an incredible journey. We were talking earlier about how the first time we did a world's largest baby shower, collecting baby items for pregnancy help centers, you were volunteering and had just started volunteering.
Yeah, that's right. And Bill was out at our center broadcasting, and I was new to this whole ministry.
Wow.
And in fact, it's hard for me to say world's biggest baby shower.
Yes.
Because it was the world's largest baby shower.
You're absolutely correct. You're so right. And what a way for you to start your journey there.
Right.
Like, wow, this is an exciting time.
Yeah.
And now here we are 20 years later, and you have gone from being what was the previous
So I was
position?
Director of Education, and then we had a leadership change about a year in, and I became the Associate Director, pretty much joined at the hip with Executive Director Mona Parrish. And
I remember that name.
Yeah, and then we went, then about 7 years ago, she retired, and I took on the role of Executive Director, and I'm having the time of my life.
Oh, I'm sure you are. Tell us a little bit about the history of CareNet Pregnancy Center of Houston.
Okay, so we were founded in 1991. It was kind of the late 80s and early 90s when a lot of the pregnancy centers, we have about 25 in the greater Houston area.
Okay.
We're all friends. We're all independent 501c3s, nonprofits, but we do know each other, and we are all friends.
Mm-hmm.
So at the time I came, we were in Willowbrook Court, there at 249.
Okay.
Then we bought our current first building in the Champions area. It's very near Stubner Airline and FM 1960.
Yes.
We bought that in 2009. The Lord paid that off in 3.5 years.
Wow.
And that's a
praise
16,000 square foot building.
Incredible.
So we have a lot more space than most pregnancy centers.
Mm-hmm.
And then once we paid that off, we thought we were done because actually Mona and I had always said we never wanted to own a building. So the next thing I know, we're owning a building. And then
they say if you want to make God laugh, tell him your plans.
That's right. And then we said we would never have a satellite.
Wow.
Well, then in 2016, we opened a center built from the ground up in Cypress, because that was when, right as the population was just exploding over there. So, yeah, I just think about how God would laugh every time you would say,
love when you say that.
I will never do this. So, and we said we were done. We said, okay. And people would talk to us about opening another satellite. And I said, no, we're never having another satellite.
Yep. And here we go.
And here we are with our third location right here down the street from us.
Woo,
on Will Clayton Parkway.
Now. Oh, my goodness. Congratulations. And I know that's a new center, and we definitely want to talk more about that. So, Nanda, was there a time that all of the pregnancy centers were called CareNet?
Yes. Well, not all of them, but CareNet is a national organization. So we affiliate with them.
Yes.
And they provide us resources and, kind of keep us up to date and provide training materials. And they have a national conference. We all get together. And there was a time in the late 80s, early 90s when there was a push for kind of a branding for us all to take on the name of CareNet. Okay. And then over the years, then that kind of fell away, and one by one, the pregnancy centers dropped CareNet from their name. And one day we sort of woke up and said, oh, we're the only ones that are CareNet. So we used to be CareNet Pregnancy Center of Northwest Houston, which was a mouthful.
Sure.
But then when we became the only CareNet, we could drop the Northwest Houston. And of course, it's a good thing we did, because we're now not only just in the Northwest Houston area.
Right. And I know you have an array of services because you are larger and you can do a lot of things. So tell us, what are some of those services that you provide? I mean, it's so much more than diapers and formula. Tell us about your services to the community.
Now, your KSBJ listeners have got to be some of the most educated about pregnancy centers because of the world's largest and biggest baby showers.
Sure.
And I know you've had other pregnancy center directors and representatives here on this program. But we do, like a lot of the larger centers, we, of course, do free pregnancy testing. First of all services are free.
Okay.
We do pregnancy testing, and those are done by a nurse. We do ultrasounds to be able to provide gestational age and viability of pregnancy. Obviously, the purpose of that is for gals who are not quite sure what they're going to do about their pregnancy, for them to see those waving arms and legs and so on, so that they can see the developing child in their womb.
Yes.
We have a men's ministry. So we started that a couple of years ago. Last year, we sat down with 320 men who had come with their girlfriend or wife.
That's awesome.
A lot of times the guys are much more interested in having the baby. And most of our discussion is in letting them know that, maybe her body, her choice, but she wants to hear from him. And that's what she needs to hear. She needs to hear that he's going to support her. He needs to hear that he wants this child.
Wow.
And that happens a lot.
That's awesome.
So men's ministry, of course, we have classes, and gals earn baby bucks, and that's where the world's biggest baby shower comes in, because those items that we receive from that, or items that we purchase through the gift cards, they go to the baby boutique, and those are our direct assistance to moms. We always tell moms, like, we can't provide you with everything.
Sure.
But we can sure take the edge off.
That's awesome.
Cribs, diapers, clothing, you name it. All the usual things that you need for a newborn. We have post-abortion ministry. There's a mature Christian woman who has an abortion in her past, which there's a lot more out there than you might think. Women who made a poor decision many years ago, and they're still living with that.
Sure.
So we have a Bible study that we do from that. It's very confidential. Even I don't know who goes through that. The gals who run that, they make sure nobody else is in the building so that women can come and not feel like they're going to get outed because they have that in their past, though it shouldn't be that way. There's no unforgivable sin.
Right. That's right.
We also have a 4-week program that we do with some of our clients who maybe they're not a Christian, or maybe they're are, but they're not
seeking.
quite. They're kind of more seeking. We do have a 4-week program for them that we call Let's Talk.
Oh, that's awesome. Wow, that is incredible. So what are some of the numbers of people you're serving just on an annual basis? For example, last year, what were some of those numbers like for you all?
Well, last year we saw around 2,300 women at our 2 centers.
Wow, that's a lot of women.
It's a lot of women
through.
coming through. And one of the things that we do is we try to put a handmade baby blanket in the hands of every woman with a positive pregnancy test, which is 85% of the women who come.
Yes.
Because we want something tangible. Because many of them, 2 out of 3 women who come to us are not happy about being pregnant. And so they are either what we call abortion minded, meaning they're really serious about getting an abortion.
Okay.
Or they're abortion vulnerable. They just have a lot of stuff going on, and they're not sure what they're going to do. Well, we want to get that baby blanket in her hand so that she just has that
comfort
tangible,
in itself.
and we let her know that that blanket has been prayed over. They've been knitted, they've been crocheted. We have women who do full-fledged baby quilts.
Wow.
So it's quite amazing. I just think about when I first found out I was pregnant, the first thing I did was hit a Babies R Us, and I bought 2 baby blankets. I had gotten a buy one, get one free coupon when I got pregnant. So I bought 2 baby blankets. That was the first thing I did.
Wow.
And we want the gals to be able to walk away with that.
That's great. And you said 2 out of 3 women who come are in that kind of that space of uncertainty.
That's really why we exist. We want to reach that woman first. We want to reach that woman before she makes a decision to get an abortion. And of course, a lot of people think that after Roe v. Wade was overturned and an abortion was outlawed in Texas, they think, well, abortion must have gone down. But it didn't.
Okay.
Because there's tons of unfortunately, travel scholarships to go out of state, especially to New Mexico. I mean, that's a 12-hour drive. For some reason, we have a lot of women who fly to Washington State.
Okay.
But there's a lot of scholarships. But even more than that is how easy it is to get abortion pills. In fact, I brought abortion pills with me today to show you how easy it is.
Wow.
So basically, you go online. There are just oodles of places, online, international organizations who their whole reason for being is to get abortion pills in the hands of women, especially in states where it's illegal.
Right.
And so
How sad.
actually you go online, takes you 5 or 10 minutes to fill out a form. You authorize a charge of $150 on your credit card, and within 1 week, you will have, I know your listeners can't see this, but I have a box of the 2 different pills that you need to do a self-managed abortion.
Wow, that is unbelievable.
It's that easy.
Wow.
And it's sort of advertised as being, it's just like you're going to have just going to be a heavy period. And it's really not that, but it's just that easy. So we have women who come to us, they already have the abortion pills in their purse.
I see.
They're just trying to decide whether to take them. Oh, and I didn't tell you about the service that we have started offering since the overturn of Roe v. Wade, or nurse consultations.
Okay.
Because that initial appointment is done by peer counselors. So these are volunteers from dozens and dozens of churches in the community who are trained to sit down with her knee to knee, find out what's going on in her life, give her referrals to other organizations in the community that can hopefully meet her felt needs.
Okay, sure.
But they can't really take a deep dive into the medical area, but an RN can.
Yes.
And so we now have consultation nurses, and they can do that follow-up to that initial appointment, can talk to her more about the potential risk and complications. They can talk to her about her own medical history, because there are certain medical conditions that it's really dangerous for you to take the abortion pill.
Yeah, so you literally have consultation nurses available as a part of your team and your services.
Right, that's new. We just started that last year because we saw that need in this kind of post-Roe culture.
That's excellent, because I see how that could definitely make a lady feel even more informed and more comfortable.
Yeah, because a lot of gals,
a trained professional,
they don't even know that abortion is illegal.
Wow. So, Nanda, what's the age group that you see at your center? Is there kind of a median age, or does it kind of vary?
The largest group that we say is kind of the college age. They may not be in college, but kind of the 19 to 25. That's always been our largest demographic, but it has changed over the 20 years that I've been here, because before, when I came, it was always that, sort of early 20s, but our next largest was the late teens. Okay. But now it's not. The next largest is the later 20s. Into the 30s, into the late 30s.
Okay.
And unfortunately, half of the women that come to see us, they already have children. They're just saying, I'm done.
Okay. Wow. If you're just tuning in, we are speaking with Nanda Kirkpatrick, the Executive Director for CareNet Pregnancy Center of Houston, and wanting to make sure that you're aware that there's probably a pregnancy help center in your community. Nanda, you all really are spread out pretty far and wide throughout Greater Houston, aren't you?
We are. There are about 25 pregnancy centers in the Greater Houston area. And as I said, we're all separate organizations, separate nonprofits, but we know each other. We're friends with each other. We refer between our centers. So if a gal calls from League City, we're not going to have her drive all the way out to Champions. We're going to refer her to a pregnancy center closer to her. When we opened our Cypress Center, it was because there was a huge gap at that time. There was us in Champions, and then there was Old Town Katy, and that was a lot of space in between. Then here in your neck of the woods, the Humble area, we call it the Northeast Quadrant, kind of anything west of 45 and north of I-10, there are about 1 million residents that had no access to a medical pregnancy resource center.
Wow, that's a lot of people.
A lot of people. And so for a number of years, we've been praying that someone, not us, but someone would open a pregnancy center in this area. Now, I should say that there is Birthright in Humble.
Yes.
But they do not have the nurses that are there to do the pregnancy tests and the ultrasounds and the nurse consultations.
Sure.
So it's not that there are no services here, but there weren't the medical services.
Sure.
And it's certainly not free. And so then a couple of years ago, after God hit us over the head, we realized that someone was to be us. And so we started looking here in the Humble area to open a center.
So you really have expanded over the past few years. Just kind of reiterate where your centers are.
Okay, so we started out, we purchased a building in 2009 in the Champions area, again, kind of around Steuben Airline in 1960. So very centrally located, very population dense. Then in 2016, we expanded to our first satellite in Cypress, which is on Queenston, kind of Queenston and Barker, Cypress.
Okay.
So, of course, that area was just exploding at the time. And then on January 2nd of this year, we opened our third center on Will Clayton Parkway, just down the street from KSBJ. And we opened that center, well, just a month ago.
And it is a beautiful center. I just can remember passing by that, wondering, seeing that there was some, looked like some slight renovation or something was going on there. And I said, man, I wonder what's going on at that building. And to know that it is now a pregnancy help center right here on a very busy thoroughfare. Probably the busiest in Will Clayton Parkway, because it's the pathway to the airport as well.
Right.
What a wonderful location that is. So, Nanda, tell me, how have you personally been impacted by your ministry to these families through the years? I mean, this has been a long time that you've been doing this.
Yeah, it seems like yesterday. I can still actually remember sitting in the office with Mona Parrish, who then became the executive director, but she was client services director at the time. And we got down on our knees and prayed. And I can still remember that, just like it was yesterday.
Wow.
But every year, especially at Christmas, we just think about how many women, how many families are celebrating. That's always a special time when you have a baby, it's that first Christmas.
Yes.
And we're always struck by how many, literally hundreds of families that are celebrating their very first Christmas with that bundle of joy, that if they had not found CareNet or one of the other pregnancy centers in the area, they had not found us first, the life of that child was hanging in the balance.
Right.
And so that's just something that every year comes up. But also just faith stretching, because when we bought our building in Champions, that was, we started looking in 2008.
Yes.
Okay, we all remember what 2008 was like. So, right, in 2008 and 2009, you think you're going to buy a building? You're a nonprofit.
Right.
No bank is going to touch you. And but God provided our building, 16,000 square feet on Wonder Lake Drive, owner financed, and God paid that off in 3.5 years.
Amazing.
And then when we opened the Cypress Center, that was paid off in less than 5 years. And these are kind of big ticket items.
Absolutely.
And we receive no government funds. We are totally supported by families, individuals, some churches. We do have like 30 churches that support us.
Excellent.
But primarily it's families and that believe in the sanctity of life and believe in what we do. So, we don't make these big purchases and take it lightly, but when God tells us to do something, we try to follow his lead. And he just made it really clear again that we were to step out in faith. And for a long time, I wouldn't even look at that building on Will Clayton Parkway because of the price tag. But then God made it very clear that that was where he wanted us. And we stepped out in faith, and we actually had a 90-day contract to raise $1.2 million.
Amazing. I remember you saying you didn't even want to go and see the building because
I had declined to even go in because I said, we can't possibly buy that building.
Wow. That is amazing how where God guides, he really will provide.
Right. Well, the thing was, for me, it was, sort of ye a little faith. I was like, there's not a building anywhere that we could walk in and occupy it because we have very specific room layout needs.
Yes.
And so finally went in and was with another one of our center directors, the Cypress Center director, because she used to live in this area.
Okay.
And we just kind of went in. It was like, it was just like God was shining a light in this building, and
the
we
angels
just
started singing.
started just going, wait a minute, there's an appointment room, there's an appointment room, there's a center director's office, there's an ultrasound suite. That's where the volunteers would be. And we did no remodeling.
Wow. So the space was already set up
And
for
it came
you.
with full furnishings and
Incredible.
decor.
Whoa. Because you guys, that's one thing I have come to learn about your various centers. They're always very nice.
Oh my goodness, this one is the nicest.
Oh my goodness.
In fact, we're almost like, okay, is this too nice? But you know what? If your daughter, if your granddaughter finds herself unexpectedly pregnant,
yes.
where do you want her to go? You want her to go some rundown place that somebody rented or they got donated to them? Or do you want them to go into that beautiful location there on Will Clayton Parkway?
Where they can feel loved and feel special at a very difficult, sometimes scary time.
Very scary time for most gals.
So how, in addition to financial support, what are some ways that the community supports you? What are some of your volunteer needs or donation needs?
Okay. Well, first of all, prayer.
Yes.
And anybody can do that, whether they can come to the center or not. And I don't say that as a throwaway.
Sure.
I mean, it really comes down to prayer. We are in the middle of the greatest spiritual battle of our time. And we have got to have prayer coverage.
That's right.
Volunteers, always our greatest need, because we can only see as many clients as we have peer counselors, volunteers, to see them. And so I will say that the staff over at the Northeast Center on Will Clayton Parkway, they are run ragged right now because they're just starting to get their volunteers. So especially if you're in this Northeast quadrant, please stop by. We need to get you involved in training. But everything else, I mean, you can, if you can knit or crochet or sew baby blankets, if you're a fellow who's handy, who, if we, have something break down that can fix it, if you know technology, if you want to cut the grass, if you have a desire to help, you just need to come by the center, whether that's at Cypress in Champions or in Humble. You need to stop by, take a tour so that you can see where the gifts and talents that God has given you can be used.
Wonderful. I'm sure in your 20 plus years, you've seen many success stories. Is there one in particular that comes to mind that you could share with us?
Well, we're so excited. And yes, there are just
Tons.
jillions of success stories. But on the third day that the center in Humble was opened, as I said, on the third day, they were booking as many appointments, maximum. They were seeing as many clients there as we see at our other two centers. And there was a gal in the afternoon that had connected with them online. She came in for a pregnancy test. She was pregnant, and of course, she had already done one at home, but she wanted that confirmation. And she was abortion-minded. So she really thought that we were going to be able to help her get an abortion, which, of course, we were not.
Yes.
We wanted to inform her and educate her about abortion, but not in the sense that so that she could go and have a safe abortion, because there's no such thing. And so anyway, even though she was abortion-minded, I mean, the Holy Spirit got a hold of her during that appointment. She made an about-face, made a profession of faith.
Wow. Oh, my goodness.
In that first appointment. And then we didn't have a consultation nurse there yet. And so she did a phone consult with a consultation nurse at our Champion Center who made an immediate referral to the ER because her symptoms indicated that she might be experiencing an ectopic pregnancy. Okay. And that is a life-threatening condition.
Yes.
Because of the pain level that she was having so early in her pregnancy. Well, it turns out, so she went to the ER. Turns out she did not have an ectopic pregnancy. She was having twins.
Oh, my goodness.
So
Double
she
blessing.
has decided to parent. So in that third day, our tagline is that we're saving lives today and for eternity. And on that third day of the Humble Center being open, we saved lives for today and for eternity.
Wow. That is an incredible story. Not to mention when you talk about the third day with believers.
Yes, absolutely.
That's a sermon all by itself.
Right.
New life.
Yeah.
So what a blessing. Well, we're excited to have you in the Humble area. Welcome.
Well, we can't wait for the next world's biggest baby shower for you guys to bring the van or the bus over to our center.
Absolutely. Well, I tell you what, I'm not going to even wait for that. I can't wait to just get by and come and take a tour. But blessings, Nanda, on you and your team and for what you're doing.
Oh my goodness, it is beyond belief that God has privileged us and called us to this ministry.
Tell us, where can we go to follow along and to people may want to connect in whatever way? Where can they find you?
Right. Okay. So our website is Friends of CareNet Houston. So that's friendsofcarenethouston.com. And so you can go on and there's a form to fill out if you're interested in volunteering. All our telephone numbers are there if you just want to call and set up a tour. Email addresses, however you want to get in touch with us. Of course, there's a place to donate as well. But that's the best way to follow us.
All right. So I'd just like to say thanks to our guest today, Nanda Kirkpatrick, who's been with us. She's the executive director of CareNet Pregnancy Center of Houston. And again, to learn more about their center, you can visit Friends with an S of CareNet Houston, no spaces, friendsofcarenethouston.com. So God bless you, Nanda, again, and thank you so much.
Oh, thank you.
As always, thank you to our wonderful audience for joining us today, and we hope you'll tune in again next week for another edition of Community Beat. I'm Kim Kasi McKee on 89.3 KSBJ.
Thanks for joining us for Community Beat with Kim Kasi McKee. Join us every Saturday morning at 5:30 on 89.3 KSBJ.